What's up, guys? It's your boy Jared here, back at you with another video on Unpacking Grace. I hope you guys are doing super well. Today we've got a cool new guest in with us today. What is your name?
Betty!
Betty is joining us. She's actually studied with me. She's really cool. Bet, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
So, I'm a third-year student at the Baptist Theological College.
Shout out.
Word, guys. And just going through my journey with Christ, trying to work on His plan for me in my life.
It's really cool because Betty's quite involved with the youth and kind of stuff. You're majoring in youth as well.
Yeah.
So her drawing her into this has been really cool, like getting her involved kind of stuff. We're gonna hit so many cool topics in today's video. What are we talking about today, Bet?
So we're talking on whether the Bible is applicable in this day and age, and whether we as people are still seeing it relevant in our day-to-day lives.
It's quite sad because our generation, especially the generation we grew up in, people think it's no longer applicable.
Yeah.
Like, I rather not follow the Bible, A, because it's too old, B, because it's contradictory, or C, I just don't understand stuff about it. And there's this misunderstanding of, well, the Bible's full of holes. So we're going to actually tackle that in this video. Okay, but before we get into this, let's get to know a bit about Betty. So I have a question for you, alright? Bet, what is the funniest youth story you have to share with us? Because honestly, we've been going to youth for a while, and we've got some funny stuff to tell. Hit me.
So, our youth is very diverse.
Right.
The majority of the group is females. We've got like 5 or 6 boys in a group. And we have this thing of picking on the guys and all that.
Right.
So, we
Makes
love
sense.
playing
Got
games,
you.
Bible quizzes and all that. So, majority of the people are like, nah, I know my Bible. So, like, you can ask me anything, I know my Bible. So, the guys are like, no, let's do a guys and girls competition. The girls are like, we know stuff, we can do this all out. And the guys are like, nah, we the guys, we know the Bible, we're more chilled, that's our thing. And we're like, okay, let's keep on playing. So we had like a broken telephone thing going on, and just a simple word like comfortable. It was just difficult for the guys. The guys started acting out things like, no, and you can't speak. So the guy is like, no, guys, this. And the girls find it easier because we have like our hair, we can use that. Most of the guys have short hair. So it was just hilarious to see people try so hard to like describe something.
Oh, it's ridiculous, guys. Charades to some other kind of level of thing. Yo, I remember my funniest youth story. Actually, it wasn't necessarily youth, but so I used to work in the preteens area of my church, and it was really cool. So the one day, I got to work with the boys, and it was great. Like, I was part of leadership and things. I really enjoyed it. And I remember the one day I got to church, and I felt really good. I was in my stride, enjoying myself, and everyone started laughing, like giggling, but to themselves. I was like, okay, cool, something's happening. Like what's happening? One of the boys in my group came up to me and were like, yo, you're such a holy leader. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool, that's great. Like, I'm such a holy, like, it got to my head, I was feeling it. And like another dude came up to me like, dude, you're such a holy leader. And like, everyone's laughing, so I didn't understand what's going on. And I realized the side of my pants had ripped. Half my butt cheek was like hanging out of the side of this thing. And they were calling me the holy leader.
Pun intended.
You know what? My ego dropped from like this high and just shot down.
Humbled.
Yeah. So to this day, those boys that actually came to the high school now, the high school aspect of the youth and things, I'm still known as the holy leader. I mean, it's an inside joke, but I'll take it. It's a good win.
It stuck with you.
It stuck with me. Right, so we're going to actually get into... Are you done?
Yeah. Yes, I'm done.
Okay, so now look, the first thing that people will come up with this idea of the Bible is that it's full of errors. Like, there's a lot of problems in it, and it's just like completely covered in this completely messed up world. Like, why should I listen to it? There's so many holes and so many things I don't understand. There's so many like historical errors. Like, what is this? So there's this really cool idea, and it's known as inerrancy, which actually means the Bible is without error, which is really cool because if you come in reading the Bible with this understanding of, well, this full of errors, you're not going to actually listen to it. You're not going to actually read it. But what we have to understand is that the Bible's not necessarily written to be a historical book. It's actually written to be a book with a specific intention, and we believe that intention is Christ. So what do you think, Betty? Hit me.
So I believe there isn't any error in the Bible.
Right.
My idea is, if we conclude that God is perfect in all He's being and stuff, then why would He allow a book that has errors and flaws? So that idea of the Bible having errors, or it like just having flaws in it, kind of doesn't make sense, in the sense our God is perfect. So if we believe in such perfect and absolute being, then why would He give us something that isn't complete the way He is complete?
Right. So as Christians, we believe that the Bible is completely, solely written through people from God. So we believe that God is perfect, and we believe that He is completely ordained and stuff. And with that being said, His word has to be exactly the same. So when a Christian reads the Bible, they don't read the Bible saying, I need to find flaws in it. They read the Bible saying, I need to find God in it, which is super important.
Yeah.
But now this question comes up then of, well, why are there so many bad stories in the Bible? Like, why are there stories of bad things happening, all that kind of stuff? And I think it's important to understand that a perfect God used imperfect people to write the Bible. And so when we read the Bible, we shouldn't be reading it to find perfect people. We should be finding broken people echoing a perfect God. And I feel the problem is people go to the Bible and say, these characters are not good, or these characters did something wrong, or these characters aren't great, but where's God?
Yeah.
Like, is God not perfect then? And why would God include such people? That's the whole point of the story, to show that we as humans need God. Okay, let's look at an example, right? So people have always thrown this example at me, and most people who have been questioning the Bible have said this. If Jesus is this great, loving person, there's a story in the Bible where He whips people out of the temple. Now, we have two ideas here. Well, we have the one where Jesus is loving kids, and He's sharing things with kids, and He's just spending time with them. Then we have this other story of Jesus, like, whipping people out of the temple. What does this mean? Like, you're going to come up with one or two ideas. There's a really cool pastor, his name is Judah Smith. He said people sum it up into two ideas. God is either completely hippie-like, and He just loves everyone, or He's completely a tyrant, and He just hates everyone, and no one tries to merge the two. But it's quite important, because if you read and you look at the actual context of the Bible, it's very interesting, because the reason why Jesus whooped people out of the temple is because of this idea of sacrifices. Now, what was happening in the temple, it was a marketplace, and everyone was selling doves and sacrifice things that you would use to give a sacrifice. The problem is that people would end up becoming in debt to pay for these sins. So they would go, and poor people would go in and say, I cannot afford a dove right now. And the guy would say, okay, cool. I will give you the dove today for half the price, but next week you give it to me with double the price. And so what happens, people are getting into debt just trying to pay for a sin. And Jesus walked in and said, no, like I'm dying for it to be free.
Exactly. That's not the idea. That's not the plan that I'm giving out there.
Exactly. Like, you are putting people in debt more than they already are spiritually in debt. Like, I'm not going to stand for this. You're abusing the poor. So when people first read this, they'll go, like, God's a tyrant. Like, why is He whipping people out of the church? But in actual fact, He's protecting these people. He's caring for those that no one else bothers to care about. This is an idea of, well, this versus that, and I've read this, but there is no evidence to prove that. And I would love to encourage you to go look it up. Go, every issue you have about the Bible, go read up on it, because honestly, context is so important.
It's key.
Context is so important to understanding what is actually happening in that story. What are we missing? Because the Bible was written with a Jewish mindset in mind. What is happening? What can I pull out from that story? What presuppositions in that story that I can understand the Bible better? So let's shift the idea for a bit. Let's talk about the relatability of characters, because I feel when people read the Bible, they assume the characters are too distant from them, which in actual fact is not the right understanding. Alright, let's look at this for a second, right? It is important to not assume bad attributes about a good God because of bad people. Now, what we see in the Bible is we see something that is so real. There are people who have real problems, who are struggling with real things, who turn to a perfect God, what we as Christians believe is a perfect God, and they say, like, I need your help. And we get this echo of issues and problems turning into glorious blessings and aids for through God's work, which is really important, because I feel like when people read the Bible, they will see the immorality of humanity, but they won't see the goodness of God. And it's quite important to tackle this. See, immorality is defined as this idea of like negative attributes, things that you would do that society looks down on, things that are wrong. And it's important to see that God doesn't have these negative attributes. But Betty, hit me. Like, what do you find character-wise in the Bible is relatable?
We always, like you said, we always have this idea that the Bible is just like this nice history book. We learn about these amazing characters and don't step back and kind of realize that these people are going through life issues. So their life issues causes them like to seek God or leads them to God. For example, the character Job. People see him as this old man that lost all his belongings.
Right.
He lost his kids. He lost his land. He lost his livestock during that period of time. And we see God having a conversation with Satan. And God is like, this is my guy, my righteous man. So do whatever you want, but the guy will still come back to me. So we have this idea that no, God punished Job for some reason. Why would he do that to Job? Not seeing that his story was for the greater plan, establishing this faith and strong trust we have in God, and that's required that we need to give. So the idea of it being, no, these characters is just stories, kind of like hits different because we know what these people are going through.
Exactly. We relate to them. I mean, there's so many issues in the Bible that people are struggling with today. Weakness, worry, not feeling good enough, not feeling being heard. This ideas of redemption, God noticing people, God being there for people. Like, there's so many things in the Bible that we as humans struggle with. Yeah. We as, in actual fact, let's go with teenagers. Teenagers are struggling with. People will read the Bible and go, it's not applicable to the younger generations. It is. There are stories in the Bible where it's so applicable to the life you're going through now. And I feel like it's important to understand that when you read the characters in the Bible, don't see the evil in them or don't see the badness in them. Rather see what you can see in God. Mm-hmm. The fact that God still chose this person even though they have flaws. And it's so important because we live in a generation that when you come to church, you are expected to be perfect. There's this presupposition, this is a stereotype that if I come to church, I gotta look perfect, I gotta act perfect. But that's not it. We're just trying to help you where you're at. We want you to be as real as possible, just like the people in the Bible were. Be real with yourself. Be honest with yourself. And when you come to church, we want to walk this road with you. That's what Christianity is designed to do. That there is a way out of this. Okay, now, look, this is something that I've stuck with my entire life. And this has helped me so much in my life. And it's understanding that the Bible is a user manual for life. Now, I've heard a lot of my friends who are non-believers, they will go and they'll say, the Bible's so harsh, man. Like, there's so many rules and there's so many laws and so many things I gotta follow and there's so many parts that I just gotta stick to. It's so harsh. Like, that's not living life. But what we realize is that the Bible is a user manual for life because it protects you, right? It puts you in a position where you can be protected. There's certain things that you no longer have to be stressed about. There's certain things you no longer have to be worried about. For example, let's look at an idea of relationships. And sex. The Bible, we as Christians, we believe that sex before marriage is wrong. Completely agree. The reason being, if you look at it from a logical perspective, is that there's no element of performance. If you're with one person, you don't have to perform and you don't have to keep comparing from past experiences or things that you've felt before with other people. It's just you and your partner learning more about each other. It's an element to protect you. It's this understanding of, well, this is what I got for you. This is what God has given us. This is God saying, this is what I got for you. You can have this. Like, it's beautiful. It's stunning. It's going to be fulfilling for you. But you got to trust me on this. And the world's saying, no, I want to do my own thing. I want to figure it out. And the Bible just protects you. It covers those first steps of you trying to figure out. And it says, hey, listen, we can figure it out. Let's talk about it. We already can give you the answer for it. It really is a way to protect you. But Bet, hit me. What do you got in mind?
I've heard and seen people speak about the Bible being seen as some textbook you go through and then you have to pass the test by living until you die. And like you said, it's there to save us, to protect us from certain mistakes, certain downfalls, and certain like doubts and guilt that will live for the rest of our life. People have this thing of the Bible, God is creating robots, and that's not how it is.
Exactly.
It's just keeping us away from being like everyone else, because the world is giving us what everyone is, but with God, you're like an exception. You're put outside.
And it's cool because it's interesting that you say the world, it's to be separate from the world. Now it's kind of worrying because for people sitting there, alarms are going off in their brain going, well, no, I have to be separate. Like, I don't want to be separate from the world. That seems quite isolated. I don't want to do that. I think the best way to understand is that the world constantly changes.
True.
1 minute beauty is this, 1 minute beauty is that. 1 minute being cool is this thing, 1 minute being cool is not that thing. 1 minute you're really important in this area, 1 minute you're not important in this area. And so your value shifts. 1 minute you're super valuable to the world, the next minute you're not valuable. Whereas when you come to the Bible and you understand that it's the most optimum way to live, your value is not shifted on that. You have a set point, and you have a point where you say, well, okay, I'm secure in who God's made me. I'm secure in myself. Rather than this is changing and this is shifting and this is changing and this is shifting and this exists today and that exists today, and then there's this confusion just being pulled all over the place. With God, it's peace.
And there's a sense of stability.
There's stability. You value yourself irrespective of what's going on around you. Okay, so you know what? Let's look at another aspect of this, right? This understanding of, Bet, what's your favorite book?
Okay. Job.
Job? Okay, what's your favorite non-Christian book?
Whoa.
I'll be dead honest with you guys. I don't have a favorite non-Christian book. Actually, I do have a favorite non-Christian book.
What is it?
It's called The Great Gatsby. It's actually a really interesting book. I enjoy that book.
Wow.
Okay, so The Great Gatsby now, right? For some of you guys in matric, you guys are sitting there and going, or in grade 12, if you don't know what matric is, you guys are sitting there and going, Great Gatsby, man, I know what you're talking about. Like, this is insane. I studied that, guys. It's a good book. But anyways, imagine you're reading The Great Gatsby and you pull up one line from the book and you're like, this is the stupidest story I've ever heard in my life. Like, this makes no sense. I don't understand the story. I'm never reading this book ever again. You don't understand the essence of the whole book unless you read it cover to cover.
Yeah.
And I feel people do the same thing with the Bible, where they'll take one verse or one line or even one story or one piece in the Bible and they will go, I don't want to read the Bible. Like this one line is irritating me. I think it's quite illogical to take one line out of a book that has been written for 2,000 years and just be like, well, this story is irritating me. It's quite interesting because it's so important to read the Bible from cover to cover. To read the whole stretch of it. Because if you read the whole stretch of it, you see the story of a redemptive God who is coming into a world we could never get out of, we're consumed by. And he's saying, hey, listen, I can make a way for you. And it starts with us having everything, us not wanting everything. And God's saying, okay, cool, I'll make a way for you to get everything again. It's so important. It's so important to read the book and to read, not even the book, to read the whole Bible from cover to cover, from beginning to end, to see the entire story play out. So the next time you read the Bible, I suggest go through the whole thing. Find the whole meaning of it. Give it some time. Give it some effort. And I promise you it's going to come back to you in ways you never even knew it was going to come back to you. Bet, what do you think about this?
It's like you said, the books, you need to read it in context. You need to read the whole book. You cannot just read like one chapter and assume, okay, this is what the book is talking about. There's build-up, there's climax, there's all these things that give us the true story or like the true message behind the book. And the Bible was made in a sense where we can relate to it, or we can kind of understand, building up like, okay, this is what's coming, this is what's coming. There are ups and downs. There are parts where we don't like or we don't feel like suits us.
It's like a climax in the books. There's a certain point where you're like, why is this happening? There's certain points like, I'm glad this is happening. It's just
so there's ups and downs. Like it's playing with your emotions. So we cannot just be like, I'm reading this book or this verse or this line in the Bible and just assume, okay, this is what the Bible is
know everything about it.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's quite interesting to break it down, because also let's go back to this idea of it was written over 1,500 year span. All right, so not necessarily 2,000 years, but more like 1,500 year span. Right, all these little stories that was written in this span is pointing back to a bigger picture.
Yeah,
like that's pretty cool. Like, how many books do that? How many books will go, okay, I'm writing this in this era, I'm writing this in this era, I'm
Yeah.
writing this in this era, I'm writing this in this era, and they all have the same story. Like, how great is that? That I don't think I've ever read a book that has that kind of concept. I mean, like, Harry Potter can't even touch that kind
No
of stuff.
way.
Like this movement of a 1,500-year span pointing to the same picture. I think that's a pretty cool book to read.
Yeah.
So I rate you go check it out, because your assumptions of the Bible may not be exactly what you assume it to be. If you see the story from beginning to end, it's such a beautiful picture of love, of a God who came to us knowing we could not do anything
True.
about where we are at and our struggles, which is really cool. Okay, so I hope this video has helped you in so many ways. I hope you guys have learned a little bit more, and that your views or your stereotypes about the Bible has been a little bit challenged. I really suggest go read the Bible. Just give it a chance. Because 90% of the time, the Bible's not contradictory, and 90% of the time, the questions you have are questions that can easily be answered. So go check it out. It's quite a cool story that was written over such a long period of time, and it really does aid your help, and it really does aid your life. Bet, do you want to add anything before we go?
Guys, just put faith, just read, and like get everything in order. Just put more time into it, and you'll see it's worth the while.
Guys, I promise you, if you take time to read the Bible, you will not be disappointed. There have been so many stories of people who looked at the Bible with such a negative mind and actually realized there's something so beautiful in it. It's a really beautiful imagery, and it's a really beautiful picture of God and His way of talking to us. So really, go check it out, go read it. But thank you so much, Betty, for joining us today. I hope this video has helped you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace!